Well, hello there and welcome to Travels with Geordie. If this is your first visit, my name is Peter Knowles and I live on a classic wooden motor cruiser in Victoria, British Columbia, along with the loving memory of my pup Geordie. As you may know, not this one. This is my friend's boat, MV Zephyrus, and we're just winding down our summer cruise of 2020. Well, we're back in Cowichan Bay, having sat out some rather nasty weather the last couple of days. Gives us an opportunity to catch up on some of our work, which means editing for you. And so now, let's jump back in time and finishing up the last few days in Desolation Sound. Good morning from Roscoe Bay. Gorgeous as always. It's a bit bittersweet. This was our last anchorage in Desolation Sound. We're heading south today. Of course, it'll be slow. About 2 weeks back to Victoria, and lots of beautiful stops in between for sure, but those sorts of views, you can only get them up treat. We're in the little town of Vananda, which has a cozy little cove on Texada Island as we work our way south. There's actually a little village here, and we just biked up to the grocery store. Really a nice spot. And amazingly, there was room at the dock because it's getting busier and busier. There isn't much room anywhere anymore. Anyway, gonna have a nice night in here. Cheers. Okay then, are you getting tired of me saying this is a magical spot? Well, this is Codfish Bay on Jedediah Island, which is between Texada and Lasqueti as we work our way south. I'm going to show you. We were really worried it was going to be packed in all these little bays because there's some weather coming in and there's a lot of boats out, but we're right at the head of this little inlet here. Only 16 feet of water, which keeps out most of the big boats. Got a great hold, got a stern tie. This is fantastic. I really hesitate to say how incredible this place is. We're on a little inlet on the northwest side of Jedediah Island, and we were very lucky to be able to get a stern tie in this very narrow little inlet because there's not much to tie to. You come to a place like this and nothing really matters. It's like, I don't know. It's just amazing is what it is. It's like a drone shot that I'm walking. You first. I've got a delightfully fun project going on today, and what a fabulous workshop I have to do it in. Yes, no complaints at all. Well, some time ago I thought it would be really fun to make little brass tags, little brass plaques for all the people that have helped support the channel, patrons, PayPal, etc., people who have gifted me stuff off Amazon. So what I've done, I've got a little workshop here going, and I've made a little jig that will allow me to properly align these lovely metal stamps and stamp out the various names of the people that I'm going to thank. And all of these are going to be fastened to the bulkhead in the forward cabin. Hey, let's jump back in time because I actually filmed making up this little jig. Thing is, there's no way I can like hand hold these and, you know, make a reasonable line of letters to spell out all these names, and there's quite a few, which I'm so grateful for. So I need to build myself a little jig, a little block, a little something that's going to hold this, and it's been painstaking really to figure out exactly the proportion, the spacing between the letters, the way I'm going to hold this brass plaque. But anyway, so I'm going to get started with some mahogany. Always start with some mahogany. All right, just like that, we can jump back in time to when we're still at the marina, and I'm going to chunk off a piece of this mahogany. However, I'm not going to cut it off the stalk yet because it's handy to be able to hold this to do the various machining I'm going to do to it. So all I'm going to do at first is just square up the end. Okay, now we got to cut a trough in it. Okay, so lug the rudder table back out from under the bed on my boat. Anyway, it's all good. Okay, so first thing to do is to cut a trough 1 inch deep by 1 inch and, well, half, 2 inches, something deeper, because I'm only going to use this. I'm going to eventually chunk it off like that. So the tool will only be about that long, the jig, and it'll stand up like this. And in that trough, I'll be able to hold the stamps. Anyway, let me just get cutting, and I think you'll start to see what I'm up to. Okay, so there's a trough. Okay, so the way this is going to work, imagine this is cut off here. This is just a handle for working on it right now, so the trough would come right out the top. So if we have the brass plaque, basically I want to set it up so that there's a small indent in here that will lock the plaque in place, and then that'll allow me to line up the stamps to stamp the names on the brass plaque. So what I need to do now is just mark this out for the size of the brass plaque and route out a tiny little trough in the bottom. Let's see how well that works. Okay, there you go. And to get perfect alignment, I also had to cut a slight trough here because I have to bring it down just a little bit to get the stamps to work perfectly. Anyway, I'm really, really pleased. Yes, that's not a perfect little thing, but that really doesn't matter. That'll sit in there perfectly when I sit it down on something to start stamping. I love it. Okay, the last step is to make some spacers to go between the letters, so as every time I stamp a letter I can just put a spacer in to guide me to the next one. And well, they need to be 1/8 of an inch, and we're starting to get to the max tolerance of accuracy we can do with a fence and a table like this, but here we go. No, we missed by 1/100 of an inch. We can fix that. 1/100 of an inch. Perfect. Okay, well there's a lovely collection of the letter spacers, about 3 times more than I need, but I'm bound to lose them, right? Beauty! Okay, so I have spacers between the, let me do it this way, between the letters in an individual row. So as I make each stamp, I just add a spacer and make the next stamp that much over. Now I need a spacer for the next row, which is basically would be the whole width of the slot and just shy of 1/4 inch deep, because we'll have slightly less than 1/4 inch between the lines. So it seems my interline spacing block was a hair too thick, so I'm just sanding it down with a sanding block. I only have to take, well, literally 1/100 of an inch off or so, maybe a little more. Now the thing is, it's hard to make sure you're getting really uniform thickness with that, so I have the advantage of having the caliper handy. So what do we got here? That corner 194, 191, 189, 190, so we got to thin this side up a bit here. Alright, so you've seen how I made up the jig. Let's actually do some stamping. So first off, get a blank, and I bought these, they're actually made in Canada, or at least they were stamped in Canada, and I bought them on Etsy, my first ever Etsy purchase. So this sits in a little notch in the bottom there, and that locks it in quite nicely. And I start off with my first row. Well, now I have to memorize the person's name. Rick Miller is getting this one, and so I've sort of laid out the stamps in sort of alphabetical order, but I'm not going to worry too much about getting it perfect. Okay, so with every stamp, I just hold it in with my thumb and give it the appropriate tap, calculating the length of, or imagine that the total area of each letter. In other words, an M gets hit harder than an I. So let's move on to an I. So if we find the I, then I add in the little spacer, so we move over one letter. I make sure that we're still aligned properly, and a slightly less vigorous tap for an I. R-I-C. R-I-C-K. Take out the spacers, add in the next line spacer, and carry on with Miller. To find the M, and there we go. Take out my old spacers, take out the line spacer, and Rick Miller is stamped. And so when the tags are done, please excuse the mess, this bulkhead is going to end up looking nice like that bulkhead, and the tags will fill this bulkhead. Basically, they'll be in sections across here, all the way across, so there's lots of room as well on this side. So basically the guest cabin slash office slash nav station. I think it'd be great. So just like in the forward cabin, it'll look just like this. So the tags will go sort of like, you know, you can imagine. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to it. Well, I think these are going to work out really nicely. And as I said, I want to make sure I can acknowledge anyone who's ever supported the channel in any way. So I'm going to put up a list and I'll publish it and put a link in an upcoming episode so that if you've ever supported the channel in any way, make sure your name is on that list. That way a tag will go on the bulkhead of the forecastle of MV Geordie. And again, I'm so grateful for you all, and this is one small way I can show that gratitude. Thanks again. Well, hello there and welcome to the Travels with Geordie beer of the week. And we have a lot to get through, so I'll move relatively quickly here. Let's start with the beer. This is Persephone Goddess Golden Ale. Now I had to read it several times. It's Goddess, not goodness or goddess. It's Goddess Golden Ale. Persephone from Gibson's, just across the way here. And let's see if I can pour this. Not doing too badly. See, I can improve. Anyway, what an amazing cruise we've had. We're in the final days of it, and I am so grateful for just about everything in my life these days, and certainly this cruise is one of the things that I am so grateful for. What a lovely color, isn't it? All right, let's see what we think of Goddess Golden Ale from Persephone. Wow, that's yummy. Malty, warm. Very nice. Reminds me of one of my favorite beers, the Sleeman's Honey Brown. That's quite drinkable, in fact. Anyway, jumping along, I have a few people to thank, and because of the unusual Beer of the Week we've had for the last little while, I haven't had the opportunity. So we have a few new patrons that have come aboard. That's Chris Moore, Martin Fissette, and John Olson. Thank you all three. Very grateful. As well, several new supporters through PayPal. Eyes of Phil Art, James Glass, and ongoing support from Paul Beglane and Gary Deschênes. And thank you all so very much. And there's more than that even. Yes, I have received notice from the marina that there are several packages waiting for me back at the marina office, which no doubt are lovely gifts from you all, either in the form of stuff from the Amazon wish list, or I understand a few people are sending me beers for Beer of the Week, so that'll be a lot of fun. So only a few more days and we'll be back to the marina, and I'll be able to get to see what all those packages are. Really looking forward to it. Now, you need a word of the week, and you might have guessed, I've used it before, but this week's word of the week will be grateful again. It seems I am so very grateful these days. In light of the situation in the world, in light of the privilege I've had to be able to cruise during this very difficult time, I realize not everyone, in fact very few, have had that kind of privilege. So I am very grateful for that, and very grateful that all of you find it interesting enough to follow along. So to all of you, I am so very grateful. And with that, see you next week.